Our first group of invertebrates is sponges. So our topic is sponges. Your EQ, what are the characteristics of sponges? Alright, sponges are in the animal kingdom, so they are an animal. They're invertebrates, and they're in the phylum called Porifera. And here are some pictures of what some sponges, different types of sponges look like. So number one, sponges are very simple animals with pores, and they do not move. They are the simplest of all animals. This is why it's the first group of invertebrates we're talking about. And pores are just a hole. So they have tiny little holes on the outside of their bodies. And they're covered in these pores. Number two, sponges are filter feeders. What that means is that the water comes into the sponge, it takes out food out of the water, and then it lets the rest of the water move through its body. So they filter water in through the tiny holes called pores. The water then moves into the central cavity and exits through the opening in the top. And I'll show you a picture of that in just a minute. Alright, this is what a sponge looks like. It's got tiny pores, so those are holes on the outside, and it's covered in those. The water goes in through the pores, it goes up through the central cavity, and it goes out the top. And inside, you'll see it has little flagella, and we'll talk about those flagella in a minute. The flagella take the food out of the water. They also take oxygen out of the water. So water enters the sponge through tiny pores, moves through the central cavity, and out the opening in the top. Right, here's a couple of different types of sponges. These are called pipe sponges, and you can kind of see why, because they almost look like little pipes. This big one is called a basket sponge. There's also some bigger than that that are called barrel sponges. Okay. As the water is filtered, food and oxygen from the water are taken out by specialized cells called flagella. You'll remember that some protists also have flagellas. So it's a hair-like structure. Like this would be an illustration. So here's the pore. The pore is just a hole that opens up into the inside of the sponge, and then you have all these flagella. Right, number four, sponges reproduce sexually and asexually. Budding is a way they can reproduce asexually. So a bud grows off the sponge. You can see it gets bigger, and then it breaks off and grows into a new sponge. And that's called budding. It's asexual reproduction because it's only one organism and it's making an exact copy of itself. Number five, sponges depend on water for oxygen. They get their oxygen out of the water, food, waste removal, and reproduction. Everything enters the pores and exits through the central opening. So it comes in through the tiny holes on the side, and then everything goes out the top.